Part 32. Exploring the World, starting from the discovery of the White Bone Dragon Pond. Author, Wo Yi Pian Hai. Chapter 311. Yashi kept an eye on the dynamics of Blue Star while holding the little Along and walking on the ancient starry sky road. The Jotien star map was still changing. Every time he took a step on the ancient starry sky road, he didn't know how much time and space had passed. Rather than walking on the road, it was better to walk in a wormhole of time and space. As for the matter of digging out the Ghost Gate, except for the people of Blue Star, people from other planets were not very surprised. After all, in the eyes of people in the other 9 worlds, Blue Star was a place full of mythology that connected the heavens above and the underworld below. Whether it was the appearance of gods or even stranger things, it was natural. Because of Yeshi's live broadcast room, the exploration of the unknown in the 10 worlds has risen by several levels. The people of Blue Star were deeply affected by it. Therefore, although the people of Blue Star were surprised, they were also full of endless desire to explore. For example, many people have come here to gather at the door of Ghost Gate. They are not afraid of death at all. Yeshi couldn't help but complain to the camera after watching these news. There were no other entertainment options on the starry sky ancient road, so Yeshi performed a live broadcast on his phone for the audiences of the 10 worlds. As soon as he went online, he found a lot of research and live broadcasts about the Ghost Gate. These were all their personal experiences. Among them, there was also a very professional up-host, who was very close, so he bravely entered the Ghost Gate before the official people arrived. Yeshi remembered that he met him when he first finished the White Bone Dragon Pond expedition, and he didn't expect that he is doing so well now. But now it is estimated that ghosts will come out, because no one came out after bravely entering the Ghost Gate. To be honest, I learned all this from you, Brother Ye. Kushi, I was bored recently and went back to watch Brother Ye's first live broadcast. It was simply amazing, a real macho man at that time. Brother Ye was still a human being, and he was so strong that he went straight into the mountains and deserts and even went underground in the desert. When you talk about the desert, I think of sandworms. When you talk about sandworms, I think of the trio. When you talk about the trio, I think of the snake people. I am your fat uncle, I am here. Why are you so anxious? I am now being held in the station with Laohu and asked to get eyeballs every day. Jojo 007 is exhausted and I am so tired that I am thin. Old Yet is so happy. Alegio, the snake people have been brought out, ahem, and are being studied in a secret base. Sandworms cannot be captured yet, but the research and analysis of them has never stopped. Kick the doorframe. Didn't Brother Ye say that sandworms are related to the god of the desert? It seems that when trying to catch the sandworm, something was disturbed. I won't go into details, we have vested interests everyone knows. Living King of Hell, Brother Ye, will you go to the Gate of Hell when you go back? Yeshi watched several live broadcasts about the Gate of Hell. When he looked up, he saw this barrage from the King of Hell in the underworld. At the same time, other underworld workers also appeared one after another. Yeshi thought for a while. I should go, but I plan to rest for 2 days. I am a little tired from this long journey. I admit that it was a long journey, but did I travel? Unprecedented short live broadcast, so short, Brother Ye, you actually said you were tired. This does not conform to your immortal logic. Yeshi didn't care what these people said. Anyway, after a journey, he planned to rest well before deciding what to do next. Then, when Yeshi came back using the starry sky ancient road, he finally felt that there was not only him on the starry sky ancient road, but also other lives. These life auras were very powerful, but they only flashed for a moment and just missed Yeshi. Yeshi turned his head to look at the fleet-like light spots flashing in the starry sky, thinking. He felt a very familiar energy fluctuation, which was related to the power of the earthly immortals he had encountered before. However, the two sides quickly diverged, and no one except Yeshi noticed it. In the live broadcast room, even those who were staring at the live broadcast room all the time rarely noticed the white light spots that passed by quickly. It seems to be the fleet of the heaven. Yes, she felt that the entire universe was becoming more and more active. I am afraid that the galaxies and planets he will go to later will be more lively, and he may even meet the real living mythical characters. But now, he looked up at the live broadcast room. We have to find out what the hell gate that we dug out is. Yes, she lay directly on the back of the Kraken, which was as big as an island. As for the little Elang, he was frightened outside this time and now he dared not leave Yeshi's side. So he also learned from Yeshi and collapsed on the back of the big octopus. After returning to their own world, one man and one dragon began to live a happy life. As for the Hell Gate, Yeshi had already forgotten it. The blue waves were high. About a day later, Yeshi woke up. He felt the abundant ocean water vapor and stretched his waist. He felt refreshed when he woke up. Because he is the master of the world and the center of everything. So when he is in the world, everything in the world will revolve around Yeshi, even invisible energy, or the imperceptible rotation of the planet. Therefore, in his world, even though he was dreaming, those high-dimensional energies still flowed into Yeshi's body. Most of the things we got from the Silas galaxy this time are high-tech products. Just throw them to my artificial intelligence and let it do whatever it wants. As for this psychic energy, it's quite interesting. So Yeshi threw these manual-like things to the Tiangong in the Liuting Divine Fire area to make the best use of them. As for other prizes that look good and have aesthetic value and other high values, Yeshi put them in his collection room. After deciding on the areas to explore several times, Yeshi became a little bored. Sure enough, this kind of unknown adventure is more fun with surprises like rolling dice. So the system that hadn't scanned for a long time started to move. Ding, the system is scanning the secret realm of the 10,000 worlds, please check later. While the system was scanning diligently, Yeshi planned to go to Blue Star to see the Ghost Gate. Although Yeshi only slept for one day, this long day has led to many variables. Although the authorities sealed the Ghost Gate in time, the humans who entered before could not be pulled out again. As time passed, the cold air in this area became heavier, and the sound of ghosts crying could be heard from time to time. The troops stationed in this area, even if each of them had practiced, were still as cold as ice men in the face of this place that constantly exuded the dead air of hell. They were also invaded by ghost energy, causing many people to become seriously ill, and even being hit by evil spirits. Because the Ghost Gate came too unexpectedly, the relevant departments were not fully prepared, causing the station troops to be invaded by ghost energy. Then there was a loophole in the defense line, and those anchors who pursued hotspots rushed in, and never came out again, which caused a great response on the internet. Because of the accumulation of one thing after another, the internet also changed from watching the excitement at the beginning to fear. At this time, a Taoist priest named John came to the Ghost Gate. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the White Bone Dragon Pond. Author, Wo Yu Pian Hai. Chapter 312. This Taoist named Zhang is very famous in Blue Star, not only because he lives a long time, but also because he is very powerful. He is the Taoist priest Yeshi rescued from Dixian village. At this time, I was invited by the officials to investigate the Ghost Gate. The place where Guimanguan is located is not very prosperous, but it is definitely not some remote mountain and old forest with few human traces. There are several small villages within a kilometer of it, but now, these villages have all been cleared. And within a range of 1,000 meters. The normal daylight before has turned into darkness. There are obviously troops stationed here, but it is still silent. There is no sound. Even the breathing of people is swallowed up. In addition to this terrible silence, there is also a heart-stopping chill. The ground was already covered with a thin layer of frost, and even these plants could not bear the biting cold. The rocks were completely cracked by the frost. Ice formed on some people's bodies, and the nearby river became a cold pool. Taoist priest surnamed John used a Taoist technique to investigate what happened here. After a moment, he could only shake his head. I'm afraid this time, Pandeo has nothing to do. I'm afraid this place is really a gate of hell. Even a poor Taoist wouldn't dare to touch it easily. If you choose to enter, Pandeo is not completely sure to withdraw. When Daozang Zhang said this, he paused, looked at the person in front of him, and said, "Let's just do what we did before and turn this place into a restricted area of life, prohibiting ordinary people from coming." Several people around him looked ugly when they heard what he said. This place is the hinterland of the Central Plains. Well, forget it, fortunately it is not in a city, and the loss can be accepted. And one of them looked unhappy and had an irritable tone. How can something like this be dug out so easily? Since we can dig it out, why can't we choose to fill it back in? Obviously, the legendary soil that was brought from the Kunlun Mountains and tainted with the power of the sacred soil was used to fill this ghost gate, but it didn't react at all. There was no answer to this. As the backbone of the special department, Lao Hu is naturally here. After a while, he sighed. It's easy to ask God but hard to send God away. I'm afraid that this ghost gate was not dug up randomly, but he chose to be born when the time came. Everyone can also feel the changes in Blue Star. After our research, the dimension of Blue Star has just increased by 1 dimension. It is reasonable for the gate of hell to appear at this time. Several people were silent for a while and nodded. Okay, then let's designate this place as a life-restricted area, but you also know those people on the internet. If we say this, I'm afraid they will continue to come here to die out of curiosity. What should we do? Lao Hu paused for a moment, knowing that this was just a routine inquiry. So the answer is still the same as before. As before, let's start a live broadcast and let them understand that the gate of hell is not a joke, but the real gate of hell. So a special live broadcast room appeared, and it suddenly swept all major platforms. During the time when Yeshi was not on live broadcast, this special live broadcast about the gate of hell suddenly attracted countless popularity. Even the beings in the other 9 worlds that crawled over from Yeshi's network cable also watched this official live broadcast. Your Blue Star is indeed very special, we have never seen any ghost gate. Priest Wicked Taoist, I dug it out and went to the underworld, but I didn't dig it out and went to the gate of hell. It's a pity that they didn't find a professional like me, Pandeo, otherwise I would have to make the gate of hell look good. As countless spectators came out, the live broadcast has officially started. Hello everyone, I believe you all understand why we want to start this live broadcast. Prior to this, Blue Star has launched a total of 5 similar live broadcasts. This is the 6th time and the most dangerous one. It is now 12:29 noon. It is cloudless and the weather is clear. The sun should be shining here, but you can see that the area behind us has completely turned into a place like Netherworld and Purgatory. Our people stationed here will not only be disturbed by the ghost energy coming from the ghost gate, but the temperature here is also getting lower and lower. Now it has reached an outrageous level. Even Daozang Zhang cannot survive for long. Stay here. If I put it into words, something is not obvious. The official who spoke took out a powerful beast, then took the beast a few steps forward. The ferocious beast screamed violently first. In the faint black mist, its body rose with a trace of blood, and the hooves of the beast that were constantly struggling were also covered in layers of ice. Not only the ferocious beast, this staff member had already mobilized all the energy in his body, but in the black mist, his hair was still covered with ice, his lips turned white, and the hand that pulled out the ferocious beast was trembling. Not only that, he seemed to have sensed the aura of a living person, so the vicious and gradually forming ghost auras in the black mist also surrounded him. Drips of saliva dripped down, and countless soul ghosts appeared. Live broadcast room. It makes people's hearts beat out of their chests. The official staff only stayed in the black fog for 40 seconds before evacuating immediately. That's the case. As soon as he took a few steps away from the black fog and reappeared in the sunlight, everyone saw an Iceman, and black energy penetrated into the ice. It took Lau 5 minutes to use an instrument to remove the black air and frost air, and then a staff member appeared who was shivering from the cold and whose energy had been greatly reduced. I saw the staff trembling, their upper and lower teeth still chattering, but they still said to the live broadcast room very dedicatedly. Have you all seen that the black mist emanating from the gate of hell became like this in tens of seconds after I opened 4 divine treasures? There is also a ferocious beast that is comparable to the 5th level, 5 divine treasures, because it did not use special the instrument will die immediately, so don't think about any adventures you can do here without thinking about it. This place is really too dangerous, more dangerous than all the previous restricted areas combined. Their methods were very effective, and the enthusiastic audience were suddenly frightened and their minds became clear. Blue Star is indeed a monster base. It's such a scary world. Why did our planet want to invade and colonize before? Taoist priest wicked, this live broadcast room is a bit unclear, but with Pindeo's expertise and reserve, he can see the danger here. This is really dangerous. Pindeo digs graves every day, and has never seen anything like this dangerous place. Every time the official comes to threaten us, we are not idiots, we know the danger but still run over. Just when the officials breathed a sigh of relief. Rumble. A thunderous sound came from the gate of hell. This hell gate opened. Thousands of ghosts walk at night, and the faint black mist almost solidifies. The ferocious evil spirits came out from the gate of hell, frightening everyone. Uncontrollably panicked. Tear apart. Each of these ghosts from the underworld had blood-red eyes and looked at the world with a deep malice. Even the viewers watching the live broadcast were startled. The boundless ghost energy rises, and the blood shines in the sky. These ferocious evil ghosts came from the underground to the ground, and each of them was filled with rage, wishing to tear everything into pieces. The troops guarding the surroundings had no way to stop these ghosts. These ghosts are extremely vicious, they have no kindness in their hearts, they just want to kill all the living creatures in front of them. Thick blood flowed from the ghosts whose limbs were broken and pieced together. There is also a bride wearing a bright red dress with tears in her eyes. The headless ghost holding a human head in his hand. A huge number of ghosts came towards them. Everyone was in a panic. And Yeshi rode the dragon's head through Kanggu in the North Sea, and occasionally caught a glimpse of Ilong's true dragon eyes. Along with the steaming clouds. Arriving at the gate of hell. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Xuanhuan Pian Hai. Chapter 313. There is another legend about riding a dragon's head in the world. Unlike other legends, this legend was quickly confirmed by me. Along the way, the Chi dragon soared in the clouds and mist, calling for wind and rain. On sunny days, there was lightning and thunder, and the dragon's head flashed past in the clouds and mist, which was full of fantasy colors. The water vapor crystals reflect the colorful brilliance, the clouds hang down with auspiciousness, the water waves are rolling, and under the clouds and rain. The scene of Yeshi riding a dragon was captured by a camera enthusiast. This picture caused an uproar as soon as it was uploaded and sparked discussions among many people. 10 years ago, if someone had told me that there were dragons in the world and kept chasing me, I would have slapped him and sent him to a mental hospital. This photo, whether it is the composition, the people photographed, or the imagery it represents, is so stunning and beautiful. This photo will definitely be the winner of this year's photography competition. I have already decided on it anyway. There are water drops near the clouds, and among the clouds and water, a legendary Ilong looms, with its horns as crystal clear as jade. On the body of the powerful and beautiful real dragon, sits a mortal. Mortal. God-man. It's so beautiful, really, OMD. I swear I have never seen such a beautiful picture. I swear in the name of God, this picture will become the brightest pearl in the art palace no matter which planet it is on. Maybe in the future there will be painters who will paint based on this kind of picture, and then there will be masterpieces that will be handed down from generation to generation. Don't you have any doubts about where Brother Ye wants to go by riding the dragon? I don't know, but the photographers nowadays are really desperate. When he uploaded the video, he seemed to be using a drone on top of a mountain cliff. Finally, when he picked up the camera and focused it, he saw it. Even if luck comes, he can't stop it. Although the discussion about this photo on the internet is fierce, the most discussed thing now is not Yeshi and his dragon, but about the gate of hell. This was the first time that there were facts and public opinion that surpassed Yeshi. More people felt a sincere fear because of the live broadcast related to the gate of hell. Especially when those hellish demons that only exist in movies and TV shows really appear, no one can safely say that this is just a live broadcast and there is no need to be afraid. In this case. But fear, panic, anxiety, fear. Of course, this is different from the relaxation and comfort of Yeshi's live broadcast room. Although viewers who watch Yeshi's live broadcast always complain that they are the ones who get hurt watching Yeshi's live broadcast, they know that nothing will happen to them when they see Yeshi. There is a sense of security that others can never give them. And now the live broadcast here in Gyeongwon, the sense of security has dropped directly to a negative value. Fortunately, there were no real idiots shouting that Yeshi had to take action to solve it, otherwise he would be sorry for humanity and Blue Star. However, no matter the netizens who watched the Ghost Gate incident or the netizens who saw Yeshi riding the dragon's head, they would never have thought of it. Yeshi rode the dragon towards the gate of hell. Because according to common sense, Yeshi will disappear for a long time after a live broadcast. Thousands of ghosts parade, the ghost spirit is overwhelming. There is even a reverse path of yin and yang here. The troops and staff guarding here were invaded by these ghosts and evil spirits. Some people's thighs and arms were even torn off, dripping with blood. However, this live broadcast has not been closed. But the live broadcast is still going on, live broadcasting the horrific scene like hell in front of him. After many people called anxiously, they found that they had no effect. They knelt down in pain and cried. Some people called the emergency hotline of the special department, but unfortunately they couldn't get through at all. Not only the private sector has various measures, but the government is also urgently carrying out emergency plans. Unfortunately, judging from the current situation, all the weapons they have are not enough to rescue the people trapped in the gate of hell. So a nuclear bomb is already warming up. But whether it should be sent out or not is still unknown. In addition to this ultimate weapon, the officials also tried weapons and abilities on the immortal side. Unfortunately, the power they had was not enough to solve the ghost gate in front of them. The gates of hell are still expanding. When everyone is in despair, a clear sound of dragon roar that could be transmitted to the soul broke through the black fog and came over. The sky breaks. Yeshi came riding a dragon head. Hold head high. Ilong made a long dragon roar. Things are formed on the earth, phenomena are formed in the sky. Zhang Daokang and Lao Hu felt that the evil spirits rushing towards them were like encountering natural enemies, melting like ice and snow under the roar of the dragon. Just when they were confused, they saw the black fog dissipate. They looked up at the sky and saw dragon clouds made of mighty clouds. And a mythical chi dragon rushes down. The little Ilong was as graceful as a giant dragon, just like a real dragon. It swam slightly and passed through the space, sweeping away all the evil spirits in front of it. Stopped in front of the gate of hell. Yeshi stood behind the dragon's head and first looked at the 3 words Ghost Pass. Then he turned his head and glanced back, his burning eyes just met the live broadcast lens. Call. A strong wind blew up, and all the monsters disappeared. When Yeshi looked at the camera, time and space seemed to freeze at this moment, and countless people held their breath. Grass, it's Yeshi. The divine soldiers descended from the sky, they are so handsome. My mom, I just felt so weak, I almost thought they were really going to die here. Do you know, I was really crying while watching the live broadcast. I didn't dare to watch anymore and wanted to quit. I didn't dare to quit. Oh, it turns out that miracles really do happen. I thought Brother Ye would just disappear for a month or two and then appear again like before, but I didn't expect. My dad asked me why I knelt down to watch the live broadcast. I gave him a look, and then he knelt down with me. The live broadcast room was filled with excitement and joy, as well as an unparalleled joy and unprecedented sense of security. Yeshi got off Xiaolong's body, patted him, and asked him to stand in front of the closed gate of hell. Then he looked at the broken limbs and remains lying on the ground and frowned, his face a little unsightly. On the other hand, the surviving humans were supporting each other with indescribable joy on their faces. What does Brother Ye want to do? Someone in the live broadcast room noticed that Yeshi's current state was different, and began to speculate whether he wanted to teach these evil spirits a lesson, or completely uproot this forbidden area of life. There are all kinds of speculations. Actually, Yeshi did nothing. He just took 2 steps forward. The first step falls. All the evil spirits that caused trouble in the world were burned by the flames. They made the same painful wailing sounds as the humans before. After a few seconds, everything disappeared from the world. After the second step falls, all matter affected by the gate of hell begins to go back. The arm of the man who had lost his arm returned to his arm. Those dead soldiers in the army are recovering, turning from minced meat into mortals who have never died. The barren land is also retreating rapidly. It's like time has gone back a few minutes, and it's like matter is flowing backwards. But no matter what it is, it makes people feel sincerely and incredibly. The live broadcast room was almost overcrowded by the crowd of viewers who then came together. My day, time goes back. Not Baidu Lizhija, no one in Baidu can do this. OMG. At this moment, Yeshi stood where he was. All the creatures in the world looked at him. Respect them like gods. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Wo Yi Pian Hai. Chapter 314. From the perspective of the general public. Yeshi was indeed using an incredible power, turning back time. However, Yeshi emphasized it many times. Time is false. There is no such thing as time. All changes that humans can see are all physical changes. Therefore, rather than going back in time, it's better to say it's going back in time. Yeshi just pulled all the materials back to their previous state. When Yeshi took the second step, he paused for about a second, mainly to let the system scan Gaiman Pass. He planned to go to Gaiman Pass with Ilong after finishing the things in front of him. And the live broadcast room. Not to mention the live broadcast room. It should be that the entire 10 worlds have fallen into a state of madness and insanity. Every life that saw this live broadcast, no matter what form it was in, completely doubted what year it was. This is different from any strength or planet shown in the past. It's time. This is playing with time. It was only at this moment that those big bosses in Baidu who wanted to become immortals finally understood the reality. It turns out that in the outside world, you can even turn back time. The years and lifespan have no meaning for this kind of character, Yeshi. After Yeshi finished everything and restored all materials. Just then he walked towards the front, looked at the officials and asked. How's it going? Are you okay? This question is asked. Can you take a look at what you're asking about? You can turn back time even if they want to have trouble, How can they have trouble? Laughing to death, I just arrived in the underworld, but I went back in time and fished it out from the underworld. I never dared to write such outrageous things in novels before. The reality is indeed even more outrageous. Kneel down. Lao Hu looked at Yeshi as if he were looking at a god. He was even a little dizzy. He wondered if he had adventures with Yeshi before. How to say? It didn't take long. How come the little brother who had rescued them in the desert could turn back time? He immediately thought of his dead comrades and those friends. Zhang Daozang was even more stunned than Lao Hu, thinking it was impossible. He is a true Taoist heavenly master, so he knows the basic laws of operation of this world. There are 6 paths of reincarnation in this world. There is heaven and there is hell. So how did the man in front of him go back in time? This was simply impossible. At this moment, he completely doubted all the education he had received before. Perhaps because he was too shocked, no one answered Xuanhuan after he spoke. It was only after he said it aloud again that these people suddenly reacted. Then nodded wildly. Yes, we are fine, nothing happened. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeshi. Okay, it'll be fine. Then you. Yeshi pointed around. Do you want to stay and guard here? After asking this question, Yeshi saw the 5 people in front of him using 5 different postures and giving 5 different answers. Their reaction, they must have calmed down. If it were me, I would definitely kneel down and not dare to say a word. Yo 11, you still want to stand in front of Yeshen even though I am so far away, I dare not say a word. Yeshi looked at these people with the same hands and feet in front of him with strange eyes. Well. Then do whatever you want. Yeshi found that the people in front of him couldn't communicate, so he spread his hands and said this. After saying that, he turned around and took a few steps forward before planning to leave. But soon, he turned back again and said something. I plan to go into the Hell Gate and have a look. Does anyone want to come with you? This time, the movements and voices of these people were surprisingly consistent, and their expressions were full of rejection. Yeshi was actually just asking a routine question. I don't feel surprised to see no one willing. He just walked straight to the gate of hell. He stood next to Xiao Along and gestured. Xiao Qi let out a loud cry, then pushed open the ghost gate in front of him. Yeshi just walked into the gate of hell under the eyes of everyone. During this time, there wasn't even a sound of breathing. It wasn't until Yeshi's back disappeared completely that someone was shocked to realize that he had forgotten to breathe and almost suffocated himself to death. Yogurt ice cream, my brother yet is my brother yet. After Yeshi entered the gate of hell, he also started his live broadcast simultaneously. What caught my eye was this barrage. She is also the girl who dug out the door of hell. Yeshi didn't notice anything wrong when he saw this barrage, but the others felt their hearts tremble after seeing this line of text, as if there was a female ghost crawling behind them. Yunran is me, sister, didn't you disappear after fainting? Where are you watching the live broadcast now? Are you still a human? Yogurt ice cream, I am not a human being. I have entered the gate of hell. What happened? Do you want to come in together? I am God. Alien Foster, your blue planet is indeed a monster planet. You have no fear in your heart after entering the underworld of death. What a shocking courage. 1,000 miles without staying, the reputation of our blue planet people is ruined by people like you. Golden-haired shell, what does Brother Ye want to do after entering the ghost gate? Diamond suit interstellar profiteer, Tomcat, of course, it's to play. After the little Along became smaller, it returned to Yeshi's arms. After entering the ghost gate, it was first pitch black. There was nothing around and nothing could be seen. There was only a little light in the distance. While Yeshi was walking forward, he looked at the live broadcast room. He saw this question and explained. Because I am also curious about the underworld. When I was in the ancient Starry Sky Road, I thought about coming here to take a look after returning to Blue Planet. I didn't expect everyone's actions to be much faster than mine. Yogurt ice cream, hee, is brother Ye praising me? You are dead, so I should praise you instead of others. I didn't expect that the gate of hell would be like this. Kick the door frame. What's wrong? Are you disappointed? What do you want to see? It should be because all the ghosts have poured out of the gate of hell, so it looks like this. Otherwise, there should be ghosts stationed here. Oh, I remember, there seems to be no door gods painted on this gate of hell. No wonder the ghosts ran out of the underworld. Is the underworld in chaos? I am God at living king of hell, brother king of hell, this is your specialty, come and explain it to us. White impermanence, oh, don't say it, I have tens of millions of clones and I am still too busy to handle it every day. Fortunately, Yeshen sealed the gate of hell over there, otherwise something big would happen. The king of hell is very busy now, and I guess I don't have time to watch the live broadcast. I am slacking off. Living king of hell, who told you I don't have time? Slacking off, right, go to the underworld and touch it. Puff. Looking at these silly comments, Yeshi couldn't help laughing. And so did the other viewers. Yeshi quickly passed through this dark area. And he stopped. Because in front of him was the 9 bends of the underworld. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the White Bone Dragon Pond. Author, Xuanhuan Pian Hai. Chapter 315. The scene in front of me has absolutely nothing to do with the landscapes of other alien planets that I have seen before. It should be said that it has nothing to do with the planetary world that everyone sees. If the feeling was not strong before, now, everyone feels an unprecedented sense of separation. The feeling of alienation brought about by the gate of hell is far less severe than the hell in front of them. It is difficult to describe all this in human language. The Xuanhuan that I have heard of for a long time is not very smelly or turbid. There isn't even a river at all. Its shape is very similar to the Milky Way when humans stand on the ground and look into the night sky, so it is called the Yellow Spring. From the perspective of human perception, what is shown is a river, but in the final analysis, it is the dimensional coordinates of stars that have flowed through thousands of worlds. Why is it that I can't tell whether this underworld is in the sky or underground? I am God, the false underworld, the deepest place underground, the land of 9 secluded places, the real underworld, the backside of heaven. This underworld is actually hanging in the air. Doesn't it mean that the underworld is the bottom? So what is under the underworld? Hell. After the previous scan, the system promptly updated the underworld information to its information database. But now, Yeshi stood in front of Xuanhuan and unfolded the system's map of the world, but he didn't see where the underworld was at all. On this nearly endless map, not a single planet or hell is lit up. Yeshi's brows did not move. Immediately afterwards, he saw everything on the map, and every place lit up. The bright light almost blinded Yeshi's eyes. And instead of stopping, the light continued to spread outward until the tentacles of light touched every corner. This is the underworld. The place where Yeshi is going now is not a planet, nor a galaxy, nor a place where the fragments of heaven fell, but the underworld, which has been inherited since ancient times and has never stopped. Every place where life is born, a world with souls, and creatures with souls has an underworld. So exaggerated. When I first came to heaven, I didn't exaggerate like this. Just when Yeshi was muttering to himself, the sound of the system rang in his ears. Ding, congratulations to the host for unlocking the underworld. Rewards, Yellow Spring Water X1 Secret, Paper Boat X30, Underworld Coin X1000, Underworld Coordinates X1. Paper boats, the underworld has not communicated with the human world for a long time. The ghosts have almost forgotten what the world of living beings is like. The ferryman of the underworld has also disappeared for a long time. The ferry has sunk to the bottom of the underworld, but these paper boats it can carry you to the underworld. After passing the underworld, you will enter the underworld in the form of a stranger, and you will encounter unimaginable existences. A sincere and friendly reminder, the legend is true, but the legend may not be complete, and everything is spread outside. It's just 1/10,000th of the real underworld. Yellow spring water, it can wash away the soul and bring it back to the beginning. It's similar to the game, wash the file and start over, don't touch it. Underworld coin, the human world and the underworld are different. Everything in the underworld is different from what people on the earth think of, and it is also different from heaven. This is the currency popular in the underworld. Maybe in a long time ago, before heaven and earth were, it is indeed possible to travel, but it is limited to a small number of immortals and ghosts. As of now, these few are gone. You are one of the 5 living beings in a long time. Coordinates of the underworld, the gate of hell will disappear after it is opened. It may not be the original coordinates after it is opened again, and the location located by these coordinates is not the gate of hell but the underworld. It seems that sometimes you shouldn't take the literal meaning literally. The underworld is not necessarily underground. It's not underground on the planet anyway. This looks like a void, but there is absolutely no such thing around Blue Star. If you put it this way, Xuanhuan is like a time-traveling door. After you step through it, you directly come to another world. But here's the problem. At this time, Yeshi took out the paper boat in his hand and placed it on Xuanhuan. After watching the paper boat quickly become large enough to carry people, he walked up, looked at the camera and said, "No matter what world it is, these worlds should exist in the universe. We have been to quite a few planets and galaxies, and we have not captured any information about the underworld at all. There is heaven above the stars, but there is no underworld. Where is the underworld? Where are we now?" No one could answer the questions raised by Yeshi. They originally wanted to be reserved and discuss this high-end topic with Yeshi, but when they saw him casually take out a paper boat, place it in the underworld, and step on it, they were a little confused. "Speak slowly, we haven't reacted yet. Besides, who is the paper boat in your hand?" Yeji's other nickname, Ferryman. "After ferrying to the underworld for 100,000 years, I am invincible /. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Xuanhuan Hai. Chapter 316. Various discussions were going on in the live broadcast room for a short period of time. After talking about astronomy, geography, the universe, stars, legends, and history, they were all surprised by the sudden appearance of Nameless. When they inquired further, this person never appeared again. But this is nothing. One thing that made them feel like a bolt from the blue was Yeshi's paper boat is about to sink in the river. In addition to the corrosion caused by the yellow spring water, it is also because the water ghosts in it are constantly chewing on the hull. Now many small holes have been chewed on it. Fortunately, the bottom of the boat has not been broken, but it feels, that's almost it. I used to think that I was stupid for worrying that the paper would get wrinkled by blisters, but now it seems that I am the genius. Everyone is numb. Isn't this paper boat a very precious and rare supreme treasure? How could it still be bitten to pieces? My guess is that it may be because Xuanhuan water is more powerful. Yogurt ice cream, what should we do, brother? Yeah, can you swim over? Wu Yang Tianzun, how did you get there upstairs? Did you swim there? Yogurt ice cream, I became a PIO and was picked up. I didn't even see the underworld in the blink of an eye. I left the gate of hell and went to the underworld. Diamond suit interstellar profiteer, Tomcat, good guy, swim over there, Do you really think that the little Poseidon can control the water of the underworld? Right, the Poseidon on the ground can't control the water underground, and he can't fly above the underworld. There is no other way, the little Poseidon is going to become a water ghost. Kick the doorframe. You guys are really too impatient. You are so worried about such a small thing. How often has Yeshen not strategized and won a victory thousands of miles away? He must have a plan this time. Yeshi did notice the serious damage to the paper boat. Unexpectedly, someone started to quarrel in the live broadcast room because of the paper boat. He stretched out his hand and waved it forward. Be at peace, don't be impatient, be at peace, don't be impatient. I never thought that this paper boat was so bad. I thought that a paper boat could get me through the underworld. Yeshi took out a paper boat from his sleeve and threw it on Xuanhuan. After the other party grew up, he stepped on the bow of the boat and got on the new paper boat. Now it is estimated that it will take 3 or 4 paper boats to cross the underworld. Yeshi shook his head and looked at the paper boat with disgust, but he immediately sighed at the camera. It's a pity. I heard that most of the ferrymen have sunk into the river. I can't wait for them. Otherwise, there is no need to change boats. As long as you have Hades coins, you can take the ferryman's ferry. It won't be as troublesome as it is now. Yeshi stood lightly on the brand new paper boat, and the live broadcast room once again fell into an awkward silence. Especially Tomcat. He slowly applied to the system of the live broadcast room to block his blinding special logo, and then spoke again. Tomcat, wow, the little Poseidon is indeed as powerful as I expected. I am very curious about the structure of this paper boat. If the little Poseidon is willing, you can exchange resources with me. Here is my mall link. Rightward arrow, click links, everything is there, everything can be sold. Yunran is me, who said Yeshen would become a water ghost. He shouldn't be a friend of the blue cat avatar upstairs. I am God. Does the ferryman sink into the river? Are all the ferrymen at the bottom of the Yellow River? Correct, pertinent, and bloody. I am your fat man. How did Lao Ye know that there is a ferry in Xuanhuan? Why don't we know anything? Yeshi ignored these barrages. To be more precise, he didn't watch them at all. He held the little dragon in his arms, occasionally playing with its dragon horns, and headed to the underworld while the paper boat floated. As for the old paper boat he left behind, not long after he left, several holes were chewed through the bottom of the boat. Then he slowly sank and was swallowed by the water ghosts in the underworld. Then these water ghosts continued to follow Yeshi greedily, looking at Yeshi with red eyes. In addition to this special paper boat, what these ghosts want to eat more is the immortal in front of them, whose flesh shell is full of fairy spirit. Just a whiff of the smell makes these water ghosts so happy that they feel like they are out of their bodies. Yogurt ice cream, brother. Yeah, what are these water ghosts? We ghosts generally don't sink into the underworld, are they ghosts? Supreme Qing Dynasty, the ecology of this live broadcast room is really getting better and better. By Vuchain, let me break the news in a low voice. I heard from Lord Yama that these water ghosts are ferrymen. Ordinary serious ghosts are either fried and boiled in hell or waiting in line to be reincarnated. How can they fall into the underworld? Pang Wei, it's okay if you don't say it. I'm even more scared when you say it. What does frying, roasting, and boiling mean? Are you a hell or a canteen? Abong, underworld, they are being tortured. So you should do more good deeds in the human world. Those who do evil and evil will just die. If they die, they may not have a chance to leave the underworld. Is there really karma in this world? I don't believe it. Living king of hell, I don't understand karma. This is your matter in the human world, but there is reincarnation and hell. I advise you to try your best to become an immortal or a god to ensure that you will not die and do bad things. Otherwise, you will be bombed if you die. Tisk. The number of levels of hell is not as few as 18 levels. I am God, thank you for the invitation. I am a good person in 10 lifetimes. Yeshize gradually approached the underworld, and when he looked at the live broadcast room, he naturally saw all these demons and ghosts appearing. Not to mention, the information revealed by these underworld staff was of some use to Yeshi. When Yeshi's second paper boat was about to collapse, he replaced it with a third paper boat. He was left with a group of water ghosts who hated him even more. They bit the slowly sinking broken paper boat like they were gnawing at Yeshi's flesh and blood. Certainly. The leaves act completely like they are not there. Reincarnation of cause and effect. He shook his head while watching these people's discussion. Reincarnation exists, but cause and effect does not exist. Cause and effect and time are the same. To a certain extent, the two can be equated. Because logically, there is a cause first and then the effect. Isn't this just time? Yeshi shrugged his shoulders and said, a shocking concept. Moreover, there is no need to look elsewhere. From a human perspective, in a microscopic sense, the effect is already the cause. From a human perspective, we feel that time exists, cause and effect exist, reincarnation does not exist, and gods and immortals do not exist. Unfortunately, the real world is completely opposite to what people think. It's retribution. Retribution is purely based on your subjective initiative, or the subjective initiative of others. Yeshi said a word that completely did not match the underworld he was in. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Xuanhuan Hai. Chapter 317. Anthropology suddenly occurs when one should not be doing anthropology. Golden Moose, so in the real world, gods and immortals exist, reincarnation exists, but time does not exist, and cause and effect does not exist. Blue Star looks in the mirror, what kind of world am I in? I also want to look in the mirror and ask myself, what kind of world do I live in? In fact, I have accepted the fact that time does not exist, but why does cause and effect no longer exist? The third paper boat slowly docked under the bumps. It seems that what is in front of me should be the underworld. Anyway, it is a piece of land, and there is a hazy sky that allows people to see clearly. But in the eyes of everyone, it all seemed so empty and disconcerting. I am scared when there are ghosts, and I am even more scared when there are no ghosts. What kind of world is this? I am God at, what's wrong with you, what happened? By Vuchain, someone breaks into reincarnation. Is Brother yet here? Come quickly, let's watch the show together. Living King of Hell? Yeshi stepped on the ground, but the touch under his feet was unexpectedly unlike the land, nor was it like any other texture he had come into contact with before. It's just that falling to the ground is surprisingly uncomfortable, and I feel like I want to destroy everything. At the same time, he heard the rushing sound of greed. But looking around, there was nothing in the vast expanse. The silence was very in line with the aesthetics of the underworld. So the sound doesn't come from all directions. So Yeshi lowered his head. He tilted his head slightly and looked at the gravel underground. The quiet world at this time seemed to the audience to be weird and terrifying, not to mention the seemingly non-existent roar, but they didn't know where it came from. So they followed Yeshi's movements and looked underground together. It turns out that what is beneath our feet is not the land that everyone thinks it is. How could something like this appear in the underworld? The land belongs to the human world. There is no earth in heaven, and naturally there will be no earth in the underworld. Therefore, this land-like place where the paper boat docked. It's just a pseudo-earth made up of desperate souls. Underfoot is the ground made of souls and flesh. In the distance are the continuous mountains, which are like bones. Yeshi looked down at the ground and took a few steps forward. The scream of the soul became stronger and stronger, and bright red blood seeped out of the ground, flowing slowly like water. This underworld doesn't look like a transit point in the 6 paths of reincarnation. It looks like some kind of tragic place of extinction. He looked at the ground beneath his feet and said this. Vomit. I almost vomited out the food I had eaten 10 years ago. My imagination of the underworld is shattered. This is not an underworld that can stand side by side with heaven. Heaven may not be what you imagined, after all, you have only seen the Nantian Gate and the ruins. Hey, after living in the human world for such a long time, your imagination of the human world has not been shattered, right? Hey, look at what's said above, it's amazing. Although Yeshi knew what the ground beneath his feet was made of, he never thought of interfering, but continued walking forward. Although it was still quiet, not even a ghost. But the thick sound that sounded like a living person breathing became stronger and stronger. In the process of constantly moving forward, a monster with a face like a disc, the disc cracked open, and its tentacles stretched out and swam in the void appeared in front of everyone. Ding! Congratulations to the host for unlocking the underworld creature, Kitos. Tos, a creature that belongs exclusively to the underworld. It is extremely powerful. Even the rulers of the underworld dare not attack them at will. It has never been born. It is dead from the moment it has a soul. It is unknown how to die. Zhi's hung. Therefore, Kitos is extremely eager for life. It wants to see the world of life. It is extremely curious about what kind of concept and experience life is, and what the world of life is like. For this reason, all the Kitos have imagined a world of life unique to the creatures of the underworld. You have come to the world of Kitos. When Yeshi heard the previous words, his expression was quite calm. Although the underworld creature in front of me is indeed very powerful, it is not so powerful that it cannot be matched. But the last sentence really made him stunned. But no wonder something is wrong here. Yeshi finally understood why there were no ghosts here. Ganking was a private place for powerful underworld creatures. I am afraid that only warriors like him from the human world would come here. What kind of creature is this? It looks a little too ugly. Seriously, I think this is not a shameful appearance, but a terrifying appearance. What is it doing? Please introduce your local specialties. What is this thing? Can it be eaten? Abong, yes, it can eat. Bien, I really don't understand the thoughts of your living creatures. Why do you want to eat something when you see it? I still have a cow's head, do you want to eat it too? Bai Vuchang, brother, why did you end up here? I'll choke you, this thing, rolling his eyes. Fanwuju, sorry, Lao Xie, it was scared to death just now, I will save it now, wait a moment. Although Yeshi still looked the same as before, strolling leisurely in the courtyard, in fact, his vigilance had been raised. The divine sword was already held by Yeshi, and when he saw something was slightly wrong with the situation in front of him, he took action and slashed it down with one strike. Besides, Xianli also mobilized and built protective shields and passive protective shields around his body. After being on the safe side, Yeshi just took steps and quietly approached this underworld creature. He wanted to try to communicate with the other party. The communication is not for anything else, I just want to ask for directions. Only. The little Along held in Yeshi's arm seemed to be very uncomfortable with the underworld, and Kitos in front of him was so frightened that he shrank his body and hid in Yeshi's arms without daring to move. Kitos felt a different smell, a smell that was different from any breath he had felt in the long years. This is like the taste of raw food in all Kitos' fantasies. So much so that even though Kitos woke up, he suspected that he was still dreaming. Until Yeshi stepped on the earth of souls and kept moving forward, walking in front of Kitos, it looked at the shattering of the souls that made up the earth. Only then did he realize that he was not dreaming, but was actually behind the real underworld. Kitos flew in front of Yeshi in a swish. Its cracked plate face looked very excited, and its tentacles kept waving. When it wanted to touch the leaves, it finally retracted its tentacles. Then he carefully emits a special low-pitched sound. Alive. Life. When Yeshi listened, the other party's voice automatically transformed into these 4 words. He thought for a while and asked with great confusion. Is it possible that a dead thing would be so surprised when it sees a living thing? You have been dying every day for so many years in the human world. Wouldn't you know if you caught a few ghosts from the human world? Kitos let out a long groan, and the little Along buried his head deeper. It circled around Yeshi, and its long trembling beards had a joy that was beyond words. It's really a living thing, a living thing. It turns out there really is another human world in the world. Can you take me to the human world to see it? 1,000 miles away, sometimes I have to admire our brother Yes' ultimate charm that transcends species. Who says it's not the case? It's like this even in the underworld. Well, maybe this is an immortal. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Xuanhuan Pian Hai. Chapter 318. What happened? Where is my fierce battle? Is it over? No, after all, Yeshen's charm no longer distinguishes between races, and he just charmed this thing in front of him again. Yeshi looked at the vicious and weird-looking underworld creature Kitos in front of him. No, I can't take you out. Besides, you are not suitable to go to the human world. Yeshi took out a single spectacle lens and analyzed the creature in front of him. Countless data flashed through it, and he scanned the organism. You are a pure creature from the underworld. Once you go to the human world, you will really die. The face of Kito's exploding sucker tentacles was very excited, and it circled around Yeshi. I only hear it singing loudly. No. I'm already dead, I want to go to the living world to see. Look at the simple self-awareness of us underworld creatures. Yeshi rubbed his eyebrows and couldn't figure out why he was almost familiar with strange-looking things when he encountered them. No, you are just living in another form. Life and death are just two forks in the same road. Okay, it's really inappropriate to use death to describe you, but it's even more inappropriate to use life to describe you. Yeshi had a headache. If you go to the living world, you will disappear, completely disappear. You have no way to live, and you have no way to die, but will completely dissipate. Every time I open Brother Yes live broadcast room in the middle, I suspect that I am actually watching a philosophy live broadcast room. Jin Mobe, what Yeshen said is true, but people who have never experienced it can't understand it at all. I don't know how to explain it anyway. Death is not as terrible as you think. Life and death are not opposites, just two crossroads. Perhaps only the Supreme Lord can explain these clearly. I am God at Tai Shanglajun? Do you know which direction the real underworld goes? I seem to be lost. Yeshi felt a headache when he saw that Kitos was not leaving the living world, so he asked directly for the information he wanted to know. Ah, you are going to the underworld. The underworld is not here. This is the world I built. Is it the same as where you live? Have you seen that the land under your feet is the earth I built? Is it the same as the earth in your human world? Look, there are clouds, mountains, and sky above. This is a world I built myself by asking for information about the living world from the dead souls. Isn't it beautiful? Yeshi looked up at the white bone cloud composed of white bone fragments, as well as the mountains of flesh and bones, and the earth under his feet made of souls. My head suddenly hurts. Yeshen, I thank you, uncle. We have colors in this world. Your mountains and land have faded. You are all black and white. How beautiful is it? Although it looks scary, these words sound quite sad. Do you feel the same way? I feel sorry for it. Who feels sorry for me? I am also blind. It can see what the underworld looks like. I don't know what it looks like in the underworld or the human world. Sorry. Sincerity is a must-kill skill. Anonymous, I have seen a lot of unlucky people, but this is the first unlucky person like the anchor I even met. Kitos, I wonder if you will be more unlucky than me after you leave the underworld. Brother, have you met Kitos too? Anonymous, I saw it, and I even brought it out. Tomcat. Yeshi. He looked at Kitos with a sincere expression. Then please show me the way first. Which direction is the underworld? After you finish speaking, I will tell you what the world of life is like. Believe me. Quito sucked his afro and tilted his head slightly, then swam in one direction with Yeshi. About half an hour later, they stopped in front of a bridge. I saw the underworld. Me too. Is there a revolution in the underworld? What's going on? When Yeshi saw that he had finally reached the place, he nodded happily and thanked the other person. He had to say that it would be more reliable to find local creatures to lead the way when he arrived in the underworld. In order to thank Kitos, Yeshi gave a model of the earth to Kitos, who could immerse himself in it. And I also gave it a special game console to let it experience the panoramic immersive ecological effect. Then leave a robot to help the other party update and repair the instructions. He waved his sleeves and walked towards the outside of the bridge. Wise man. Let's see what it means to be a contemporary wise man. Tai Shanglajun, I am not as good as me. Unnamed, you can still do this, damn it, why didn't I think of that? After I brought Kitos out, he was struck by lightning for 100,000 years, you know how have I lived these 100,000 years, destroy all my planet. Peng Wei, being able to be struck by thunder from the sky and still survive for 100,000 years, you are a god. What we just encountered is a creature unique to the underworld, Kitos. I wanted to explain it to you when I saw it. But this guy's chirping is so annoying. It's almost more noisy than 500 ducks put together. Yeshi finally ran away, and after his voice was no longer damaged, he explained to the camera. As for the land we just saw when we landed, you also heard what Kratos said, this is the living world he imagined. This underworld creature lives in the underworld as soon as it has consciousness, and has never left the underworld, so it is very curious about the living world. Once you are encountered by it, you will be asked to take it to the living world. If you cannot fulfill its wish, it will follow you all the time, and then swallow you in one bite after getting impatient. Although I am alive and have never left the living world in my life, I am also very curious about the underworld, but I am not curious about going to the underworld. Kratos, what do you think? But I have observed that this kind of pure underworld creature will dissipate and die once it leaves the underworld. Forget it, there is nothing to mention. Anyway, it wants to see the living world, and I have fulfilled its wish. Before leaving, I gave it a large box of videos of the living world, and it can be seen that it wants to vomit. What era is it now? Interstellar tourism can now be done through long-distance VR tourism, not to mention just wanting to see the living world. Yeshi shook his head and said this with some disdain in his eyes, then quickly left the bridge and finally arrived in the underworld. He saw Fengdu. Of course, he also saw the revolution in the underworld mentioned by the stupid netizens and the wonders of reincarnation mentioned by Bai Vuchang. Good guy. Why is it so exciting right after arriving? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Wo Yi Pian Hai. Chapter 319. The scene in the underworld was still different from what Yeshi imagined, completely different. On the contrary, the various forms of souls that look strange after death are the same as everyone imagined. In the distance is the legendary Nehi Bridge. The Nehi Bridge is built over Xuanhuan, and its overall color is earthy yellow. It looks like a low-quality mud lump made by a person. Although the man who needed the Nehi Bridge was not good at his craftsmanship, he was very diligent and needed many low-quality clay lumps continuously. Therefore, what everyone sees now is not just one bridge, but countless Nehi bridges connecting the underworld and the 6 paths of reincarnation. The impact carried by the soul has manifested into reality. These reincarnated souls clung to the muddy Nehi bridge for fear of falling into hell. But in such a hell, The roar of laughter came. A big-headed baby walks unscrupulously in the underworld, without being washed away by the underworld water and turning his soul into an idiot. Behind the big-headed doll, there are a group of ghosts holding flags, right? Yes, she thought for a while and came to an uncertain answer. And these ghosts who followed the big-headed doll kept shouting in the same way. Defeat the ruler of the government and give freedom to the underworld. We want the freedom not to be reincarnated. We want the freedom to die. We refuse life. Abolish hell. Hell has a great impact on the physical and mental health of every dead soul in the underworld. We must send the hells to hell. There is only one Lord of the underworld, and that is the powerful Lord Qin in front of us. The Prince of the government has been born, and the Prince of Qin should be established. Let me ask you, did we go to the wrong set? I'm so confused. I thought you were joking before, but now you tell me it's really revolutionary? OMG, why did the underworld become like this? Who is this big-headed doll? Tomcat. Ha 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 ha. They seem to be coming from the 6 paths of reincarnation. This thing must not be Azura. King Azura, no, we are also watching a show. Yashi covered his eyes with a headache. I really don't want to see this unbearable scene in front of me. What happened in the underworld? How did it become like this? Countless ghosts were running in all directions, and most of them were captured by the black and white impermanence of the underworld. Bai Vuchain, brother, yeah, you're here. You've come at the right time. Every few thousand years, this doll comes to cause trouble in the underworld. Come to the Lord of Hell. Let's eat melon seeds together and see if these ghosts can survive fight to Fengdu City. The underworld is different from what Yeshi imagined, and of course it is also different from what other beings imagined. Although it looked very funny, a few people couldn't help but burst into laughter and burst into tears. But there are still a small number of people who are looking at the farce-like water surface with serious eyes. Most of the Nahi bridge was broken and fell into the water, along with some souls falling into the underworld. After these souls were washed and soaked by the yellow spring water, they soon remembered nothing. Their souls were washed away completely, and even their basic self-awareness became nothing. If they continue to stay in the underworld, sooner or later their souls will be completely dissolved by the underworld water. At this time, all they have to do is crawl out, but unfortunately they no longer have the knowledge to crawl out. In addition to these, the charging big-headed doll opened its mouth and took a breath, and thousands of souls were sucked into its mouth. After a few mouthfuls of chewing and swallowing, the soul completely disappeared, not even reincarnated. When the people who discovered it posted the corresponding information online, the people who were laughing suddenly calmed down. At the same time, I felt a kind of heartfelt fear for this big-headed doll walking freely in the underworld. The barrage in the live broadcast room quickly took a turn. For such a serious matter, why don't you see those powerful people from the underworld? Where is the Lord of Hell? So many souls have been swallowed up they can't even be reincarnated and have completely disappeared from the world. Don't you plan to do anything? Living King of Hell, can't beat. Apong, alas, there is nothing we can do about it. Just wait until it stops going crazy. These souls are also unlucky to have this kind of thing happen to them. Unfortunately, there is nothing we can do about it. After saying that, I didn't say any important information, brother. Yeah, do you know what this big-headed doll is? Yeah, she had been standing in the distance observing. He tried to find the problem in this seemingly funny scene. After seeing this barrage, he explained. This big-headed doll is also a specialty of the underworld. It seems to be a collection of negative emotions from the underworld. Over the years, it has become like this. This kind of thing does not have a soul and will not be harmed by the underworld water, so it can walk through the underworld. Living King of Hell, send it to be reincarnated and it will have a soul, but it just doesn't want to be reincarnated. We will be tormented to death by it every time. Since the chaos in heaven, all the great powers in the underworld have disappeared. If Emperor King Hua was still here, it wouldn't be like this. I am God. Usually the underworld watches the fun of the human world, and we humans can finally watch the fun of the underworld for once. Golden-haired shellfish, how to solve this matter later. Fanwuju, go back when you are tired of playing, it likes to guard the entrance of the reincarnation path in the human world. What a naughty child. Yeshi passed through the ghost group and wanted to observe the underworld more closely. As a result, because of his extremely special smell of living people, every time he arrived at a place, he would attract the attention of these ghosts, and their eyes would almost stick to him. Some of the most vicious ghosts had blood on their faces. They looked at Yeshi, revealing their empty mouths with their tongues pulled out. The malice in their eyes was about to overflow. If it weren't for the ghost soldiers escorting these evil ghosts, I'm afraid they would have wanted to come up and tear a bite of Yeshi's flesh and blood. Not only that. As Yeshi approached the center, all the ghosts, whether they were the ghosts of the underworld, the evil ghosts who should go to hell, or the ghosts who should be reincarnated, stared at Yeshi intently. All the ghosts looked in the same direction. They showed greed that they themselves were unaware of. Every time Yeshi took a step, their eyes moved a little. In the end, the big-headed doll that had been constantly hitting the Nahi bridge also stopped its actions. And then stared at Yeshi motionlessly. Drop by drop, saliva dripped out of the big-headed doll's mouth. It looked at Yeshi and rolled its scarlet tongue. Saliva fell down and dripped on the ghost's body, and then a burst of thick smoke passed by, and the ghost affected by the saliva was instantly wiped out. Yeshi didn't seem to notice all this. The noisy underworld was as quiet as ghosts. These ghosts had bloodshot eyes and had already chewed Yeshi thousands of times in their imagination. Not to mention, the big-headed doll was tiptoeing to get close to Yeshi. The distance between them was getting closer and closer. Yeshi seemed to know nothing. The big-headed doll looked at Yeshi getting closer and closer, and suddenly opened its mouth. Its sharp teeth dripped with foul-smelling mucus. Its mouth opened wider than its head. Yeshi walked into the hunting range of the big-headed doll. Its eyes lit up, and the greed in its eyes could hardly be concealed. So it suddenly closed its mouth. This scene is too scary. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white-bone dragon pond. Author, Xuanhuan Pian Hai. Chapter 320. In fact, just when the underworld was quiet as never before, the audience in the live broadcast room was already holding their breath, fearing that breathing heavily would scare these ghosts. And when all the ghosts' eyes were fixed on Yeshi, these living souls from the human world were almost dead without being lifted up in one breath. Because it is a panoramic and immersive live broadcast, it was as if they were standing beside Yeshi and going on an adventure with Yeshi. So when all the ghosts looked at Yeshi, to the audience, it seems as if these ghosts are watching them. Most of these ghosts have extremely miserable deaths, with blood flowing from the Tianling cap. The intestines were dragged all over the floor. Others died after half of them were eaten, so only half of the eaten body was left. Some ghosts had all their skin peeled off before they were alive, and now blood is seeping out of every inch of their body. Their blood-red eyes stared at Yeshi with hatred, and there was also a heavy greed in their eyes. Occasionally, if you take a glance, you can still see a human being whose brains have been beaten out. Limbs, bloody body. The first thing you see is a terrifying and supernatural scene. But in such a supernatural scene, all the ghosts are staring at you. Staring at you like he wants to swallow you in one gulp. Looking at the netizens who were sitting in front of their computers watching the live broadcast, they looked at them with frightening and oppressive gazes that made these viewers tremble in their calves. Blue Star, which has entered the interstellar civilization and the civilization of cultivating immortals, once again felt the fear of being dominated by ghosts. I sincerely felt that Yeshi was really brave and invincible standing in the underworld in person. but they don't know that what they should be afraid of is still behind. Especially when the big-headed doll opens its mouth with a greedy face and waits for himself to walk in. Netizens seem to have felt death calling them, even if their lifespan is not yet close to death, people are already scared to death. Nah. The moment Yeshi walked into the big-headed doll's big mouth area, the big mouth suddenly closed, and the big-headed doll's face, which was always full of pain and anger, finally had a smile. As for the netizens who watched the live broadcast in a panoramic and immersive way, some of them were immediately on the spot. Seeing that Yeshi was about to be buried in the big-headed doll's mouth, when even the group of people watching the live broadcast enjoyed what it felt like to be eaten. A voice full of doubts sounded. "Why are you swallowing me?" Yeshi took out a big pillar from nowhere. This pillar directly supported the big-headed doll's mouth, and blocked the other person's mouth so that it could not move at all. I was studying the Nehi bridge just now, but I didn't expect this thing to want to eat me in one bite. The creatures in the underworld are really unfriendly. I am your fat man, huh? Lao yeah, you seem to be doing well, then guess what about me, guess whether I am doing well or not. Fortunately, I'm smart. Ever since I watched Brother Yes live broadcast, I always have quick-acting heart-saving pills at home. I know I'll need them sooner or later. No, I swallowed 20 pills today. Since the last time I went to Mars, I was so excited that I almost fainted. I bought a pharmaceutical factory, and now I am watching the live broadcast at the pharmaceutical factory. This doll looks very angry. I was also very angry when it swallowed me up. I really thought I was going to die. Nehi Bridge is so beautiful. Do you know what we have been through? Many people in the live broadcast room were not calm. They looked at Yeshi's still calm look and wished they could put a sack on his head and beat him a few times. I'm so stupid. Why did I forget that we are the ones who are unlucky every time? Living king of hell, I will never understand until I die. The anchor was injured in someone else's live broadcast room. Why is it here that we, the audience, are injured? You're a dead ghost and you can't even figure it out even if you're dead. Yeshi cleared his throat, looked at the big-headed doll over there who was constantly competing with Shizu, and said, "I didn't pay attention, what happened?" His tone was slightly curious, and the look in his eyes as he looked at the live broadcast room was so unsatisfactory. "I was just observing these Nehi bridges. Didn't you realize that these Nehi bridges were just built not long ago? The time it has gone through is only a few thousand years, and the mud used to make the bridge has not even been dried. I'm still wondering who built the new Nehi bridge. As a result, I saw the bridge flipped over." Yeshi took a step forward. Almost all the ghosts took a step back. There is still greed deep in their eyes, but more of it is fear. And those ghost soldiers are whispering, "Goddess! He is a true immortal. Isn't heaven gone? How come there are still immortals in the living world? Why did the immortal come to the underworld? What did he want to do? Is it to take away the monkey from their heaven? The monkey trapped in the 18th level of hell. The entire 18th floor was used to imprison the monkey. We haven't gone down to the 18th floor for a long time. It seems that many of the evil spirits' sentences have expired for a long time." These ghost soldiers whispered to each other. As he spoke, he shed tears of sympathy for those evil spirits who were still suffering after the 18th floor. "Look at the words on this Nehi bridge." Yeshi pointed to a place and said, "These shabby-looking Nehi bridges are made by Ting Ting. Let me tell you, why are they so shabby?" The big-headed doll was still wailing and roaring over there, looking at Yeshi with eyes filled with countless malice. I tried hard to close my mouth, but couldn't. He was so angry that he hammered Xuanhuan crazily. As a result, a lot of yellow spring water splashed out. Seeing that the yellow spring water was about to fall on Yeshi, countless ghosts and big-headed dolls suddenly brightened up. Then a divine sword filled with the soft feeling of water gently hung beside Yeshi. It moves a little. Then he stagnated all the water from the underworld, and then let it return to the underworld. Since Ting Ting has appeared, is there Ksatagarbha Bodhisattva in the underworld? Yashi murmured to himself. Then he looked at the big-headed doll who was still unable to remove the stone pillar despite all his efforts. He felt a little pity, and then turned around and left very coolly. Now all the Nahi bridges here have been smashed. Yashi also wanted to cross the bridge to see what the 6 paths of reincarnation looked like. So I can only go to a distance to see if there are any other relatively intact Nahi bridges that still exist. By the way, let me check if there is Po Meng on the Nahi bridge. From the arrival to the departure of Yashi, the ghosts all maintained a surprising silence. This quietness was greed before and fear after. Where does Lord Yama live? Would you like to pay a visit? Just when I was about to leave the gate of Fendu, Yashi suddenly stopped. At this time, a barrage floated over lightly. Living King of Hell, you're welcome, please do your work. I have to start sorting out the mess in the underworld now. I'm afraid I won't have time to receive you, but I will let Bai Vuchain receive you. Bai Vuchain, ah, Lord Yama, I just fell into the underworld with one foot. I can't move this foot. Ah, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts.